The skies above Zarkon 5 shimmered with starships from every corner of the galaxy, each vessel displaying the proud colors of its species, banners waving in low orbit as the Great Summit prepared to witness Earth's latest and most feared weapon. Rumors had spread like wild plasma through every known system, whispers of a beast so deadly that it had forced entire armies to surrender without firing a shot. Some claimed it could bring down cruisers with a single growl. Others said it was bred in Earth's most dangerous zones, trained to track fear and crush steel with its jaws. Alien Commander Varlock of Zarkon 5, leader of one of the strongest war fleets in the Galactic Union, had heard every story and prepared accordingly. He had increased the guards tenfold, ordered weapon checks on every entrance, and even brought in anti-beast containment units. His ship's AI had run simulations all night, most of which ended in disaster. The images in Varlock's mind were terrifying. A creature taller than a warbot, eyes glowing with red fury, fur like black fire, and breath that melted titanium. And yet, he hadn't seen it. Not with his own eyes. And that was why he stood now on the main landing platform of the Galactic Arena, his claws tapping the steel floor anxiously as the human vessel approached, slow and calm, like it had no fear at all. The doors of the ship opened with a soft hiss. A tall human captain stepped out first, unarmed, followed by two officers, and then without warning or sound came the beast. Or at least, what they called a beast. It had 4 small legs, fluffy golden fur, and a tail that wagged back and forth as it happily trotted onto the landing pad. The creature barked once, a high-pitched sound that echoed oddly in the silence. Varlock froze, as did every other alien commander present. There were no weapons, no armor, no signs of destruction, just a small creature with big brown eyes and a pink tongue sticking out of its mouth. It looked up at Varlock and let out a cheerful yip, bouncing slightly in place. "This," Varlock said in disbelief, "is the beast?" The human captain smiled confidently, kneeling beside the animal and gently scratching its head. "Commander Varlock, meet Muffin. She's friendly, unless you give her a reason not to be." The other species began to whisper among themselves. Was this a trick? A form of psychological warfare? The creature certainly didn't look dangerous, but then again, neither did some of Earth's deadliest weapons. Varlock narrowed his eyes, scanning the pup with his ocular implants, but nothing dangerous showed up. No hidden explosives, no implanted tech, just organic softness and a slightly elevated body temperature. Still, the stories couldn't all be false. Something about this creature had terrified soldiers, crashed drones, and apparently caused 2 pirate clans to surrender in confusion. "This is a deception," Varlock muttered under his breath. "A trap of some kind." But the more he looked at Muffin, the more confused he became. The animal was now sniffing at the boots of a Creel general, who was frozen in place, unsure whether to move or salute. Muffin barked again, and a small group of security bots sparked and shut down behind her. Gasps spread through the audience. Varlock's eyes widened. That wasn't coincidence. That was something else. "What did you do?" he demanded. The human captain simply shrugged. "We didn't do anything. Muffin is just special." The words hung in the air, teasing the imagination of every commander present. Was the creature psychic? Was it affecting electronics with invisible waves? Or was it all just clever design by the humans, meant to confuse and intimidate their enemies through unpredictability? Whatever it was, Varlock wasn't buying the innocent act. He stepped forward, lowering his head to stare directly into the creature's eyes. "I will uncover your secrets, Earthling, one way or another." But Muffin just tilted her head and sneezed, then rolled onto her back, demanding belly rubs. And to Varlock's horror, one of his junior officers actually reached forward and gave her a pat, smiling like a fool. "Pull yourself together, soldier." Varlock barked, but it was too late. The spell had started to spread. The fear, the confusion, the helplessness, it wasn't coming from firepower. It was something deeper. The humans had brought not just a weapon, but an idea. A living mystery that made even the strongest question what they knew. Varlock took a step back, suddenly unsure. If the humans could win battles with creatures like this, what else were they hiding? Behind him, the screens showed Muffin's statistics. Breed unknown, threat level undefined, danger potential analyzed, and inconclusive. As the summit continued, Muffin calmly wandered the massive alien structure, winning the attention and curiosity of every race present. She was not chained, not commanded. She moved freely, tail wagging, ears flopping, changing the atmosphere wherever she went. Varlock watched with increasing frustration. This was not how wars were supposed to be fought. Where were the explosions? The dominance? The brute strength? Instead, the humans had delivered peace wrapped in fur, calm wrapped in confusion, and power disguised as innocent. And perhaps that, Varlock realized with a shiver, was the most dangerous weapon of all. As the Galactic summit stretched into its second day, the tension thickened like fog hanging over a battlefield before the first shot. Commander Varlock had not slept a moment since Muffin's arrival. No matter how many scans his machines ran, no matter how deeply his engineers dug into the creature's biology, they could not find any weapon, implant, or technology inside the small golden pup. Yet everywhere Muffin walked, strange things happened subtle at first, like communication screens flickering for no reason or guard bots halting mid-step and turning around as if confused. By midday, it escalated. In the war simulation chamber, the humans agreed to a demonstration after relentless requests from alien leaders. The goal was simple. Muffin would enter the dome, and advanced combat drones would simulate an attack. Everyone expected a trick, maybe hidden defense mechanisms or a cloaked weapon support unit nearby. The dome sealed shut with heavy alloy doors, and on Varlock's command, 20 drones activated, each programmed with elite combat protocols, trained to neutralize moving targets in seconds. Muffin was placed gently in the center of the arena by a smiling human officer who whispered, "Be yourself, girl." The officer walked away, and the countdown began. A low mechanical hum filled the room. Red targeting lights danced across Muffin's fur as the drones encircled her. She sat quietly, her tail brushing against the floor, ears perked with curiosity. Then the attack began. The drones shot forward, plasma weapons armed, their movements sharp and precise. But just as they were about to close the distance, something invisible pulsed through the air. It wasn't a wave of energy anyone could measure. It wasn't sound, light, or anything obvious. And yet, every drone immediately malfunctioned. Sparks erupted from their joints, sensors blinked violently, and one by one they dropped to the floor, twitching and useless. The entire event lasted less than 5 seconds. Silence followed. Not a word was spoken in the observation room. Varlock's mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. The humans didn't laugh, didn't gloat, they simply watched, waiting for the reaction. Muffin gave a bark, as if pleased with herself, then began chasing her tail. The silence turned into a storm of questions. Scientists raced to check the data feeds, but the recordings had been corrupted. The signal logs were blank. Every machine inside the dome had gone blind the moment Muffin barked. Varlock demanded answers. He ordered his top engineers to tear the simulation room apart, looking for any human tricks. But no hidden devices were found. No signal jammers. No EMP bursts. Only one strange thing remained: a scent, faint and calming, like the smell of comfort. It had no chemical match in their databases. Varlock stood in the hall outside the dome, staring through the glass as Muffin licked her paw peacefully. "How is this possible?" he muttered. His second in command, a creature with 4 eyes and a reputation for sharp logic, replied in a low voice, "Commander, I believe we are witnessing a new kind of warfare. One that doesn't rely on strength, but on something else." Varlock refused to accept that. "This is emotional manipulation, distraction, illusion." But deep down, he was shaken. The Creel, the Yotari, even the stone-hearted Bralkans each had begun treating the pup with a mixture of awe and caution. Muffin had walked past a group of guards just hours ago, and they had all lowered their weapons unconsciously, smiling without reason. One even whispered about dreaming of home the moment he looked into her eyes. Varlock began compiling a report for his high command, but his hands hesitated over the control panel. What was he supposed to write? That a soft, fuzzy creature had bypassed every defense? That their finest machines were brought down by a friendly tail wag? It sounded ridiculous, but the data was undeniable. Muffin was affecting people and technology alike, and no one could stop it. That night, Varlock made a bold decision. He would confront the humans directly. He stormed into their quarters with a team of elite guards and demanded an explanation. The human captain remained calm, sipping a strange warm drink and offering Varlock a seat. "You want to know how Muffin does what she does?" he asked. Varlock growled, "I want to know what she is." The captain placed the cup down and leaned forward. "She's not a weapon. Not in the traditional sense. She's part of something we've developed, something we call Project Bonfire. We enhanced emotional resonance, trained animals to project calm, trust, and even disrupt hostile intent using nonviolent psychological feedback. Muffin doesn't break machines. She makes them question why they're fighting in the first place." Varlock blinked. "That's not logical." The human's eyes sparkled. "Exactly. That's the point. You fight wars with logic. We learn to end them with something stronger." Varlock stood, frustrated and confused. "So she's a walking peace field?" "More like a living reminder," the captain replied. "That power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just wags its tail." The Zarkonian commander walked out in silence, his thoughts spinning. The galaxy had always understood power as destruction, control, and fear. But now this? A creature that disrupted war not by killing, but by disarming the very need to fight? It made him uncomfortable. It made him wonder what else the humans were hiding. And as he turned to see Muffin sleeping soundly in the corner of the corridor, wrapped in a blanket one of the alien staff had given her, Varlock felt something strange in his chest, a tightness he couldn't explain. Fear, yes. But also something else. Something dangerously close to respect. And that was when he realized, with a chill, that Muffin's powers were far more dangerous than any weapon. Because she wasn't just disabling machines, she was changing minds. Commander Varlock could no longer ignore the feeling gnawing inside him, the belief that Muffin was not just some advanced emotional experiment, but the surface of something much older, much deeper, hidden by the humans behind smiles and vague words. He had seen warlords, assassins, and master manipulators across the stars, but none of them had ever made him doubt his judgment like this pup had. The more time passed, the more strange events occurred. Conflicts between delegates began to die down. Long-standing rival species that hadn't spoken to each other in decades were suddenly holding private meetings. Reports of weapon system failures were quietly piling up in the background, but no one dared mention Muffin's name in connection, as if the idea had become taboo. It was not just fear, it was respect wrapped in mystery. Varlock started digging. He left his official duties and accessed secret archives, trying to find any mention of Earth's Project Bonfire or anything similar in human history. Most human files were closed off under diplomatic protection, but Varlock had connections, ancient smugglers who once traded with Earth before its rise, historians who whispered about strange anomalies tied to human animals. A name came up, Operation Calm Down, a covert mission from over 70 years ago during the Terran reunification wars. According to an intercepted file fragment, it involved genetically modified therapy animals deployed into war zones. These animals, mostly dogs, had been engineered not with weapons, but with neural resonance fields, energy patterns that affected the limbic systems of nearby beings, lowering aggression, calming fear, and even dulling pain. But what shocked Varlock most was not the technology, it was the aftermath. Every battle where these dogs appeared ended in surrender or peace talks. Enemy soldiers simply refused to fight. And when the war was over, the dogs disappeared. No public records. No statues. No memorials. Just silence. The humans had buried the project so deep it was nearly forgotten, as if they feared their own creation. Why? What were they hiding? He dug further. On a remote outpost station known as Black Drift, he found an old collector, a lizard-like alien named Threx, who claimed to own rare human books. Varlock paid in high-grade plasma cores to gain access. The old alien handed him a worn-out data slab and said only one sentence. She was the last of her line. Varlock activated the slab. It showed video footage, grainy, black and white, but unmistakable. A golden dog, almost identical to Muffin, was walking through a burning village, surrounded by both human soldiers and enemy troops. Everyone had stopped fighting. The soldiers were sitting together, sharing food, some even crying. The dog simply walked among them. The camera zoomed into her face, and even through the screen, Varlock felt something stir inside his chest. Compassion. Peace. A desire to understand instead of conquer. He blinked hard and shut off the video, breathing heavily. It wasn't just tech. It wasn't just science. There was something ancient about it, something that reached deep into the soul. But why now? Why bring Muffin to the summit after all these years? Varlock returned to his ship and summoned his most trusted advisor, a soft-spoken strategist named Uruk. He showed him the footage. Uruk watched it in silence, then spoke slowly. The humans are playing a game none of us understand. They know how to break cycles of violence in ways we've never imagined. This creature, she's not just a dog. She's a reminder of what humans became after they almost destroyed themselves. Varlock nodded slowly, then asked the question that had been haunting him. But if this is their hidden strength, what's stopping them from unleashing it on all of us? Uruk looked at him, eyes calm. Maybe they already have. Maybe Muffin isn't here to stop a war. Maybe she's here to prevent something worse. That night, Varlock broke protocol and secretly visited the human quarters alone. He found Muffin asleep beside a young ensign who was reading an old Earth novel. The human looked up, surprised but not afraid. "Can I help you, Commander?" Varlock gestured at Muffin. "I want to know the truth." The ensign paused, then whispered, "She remembers everything. Every place she's been, every soul she's touched. They say the older the line, the deeper the memory. Muffin isn't just enhanced, she's connected to those that came before her." Varlock knelt beside the sleeping pup and reached out gently. As his fingers brushed her fur, a wave of warmth spread through his chest, and suddenly memories that weren't his flashed in his mind, images of trenches, of soldiers laying down arms, of people embracing after years of hatred. It was not a vision, it was history. Her history. He jerked his hand back, stunned. The humans smiled. "She shows only what you're ready to see." Varlock stood slowly, a chill running through his body. This was not manipulation. This was something pure, something sacred. As he left the room, the summit's final day approached, and Varlock realized something terrifying and beautiful. Muffin wasn't a threat to galactic peace. She was the peace. Not because she commanded it, but because she inspired it. She was living memory, walking proof that empathy could outlast destruction. The galaxy had always believed the humans were dangerous because of their weapons, their ships, and their unmatched adaptability. But now, Varlock understood the truth. The real reason humans were feared was because they had learned to fight without fighting, and they had passed that legacy to a golden creature with soft eyes and a silent history no warlord could erase. The air was silent, but it was not peace. It was the kind of silence that arrives before something terrible. Everyone in the Zentar Space Council felt it. Delegates from over 40 planets stood around the circular summit chamber, waiting for the humans to respond to a clear threat. Commander Zarok of the Brutari Empire had finally lost his patience. For weeks, he'd pushed Earth into a corner with harsh terms and threats of planetary blockade. He believed the humans were soft, diplomatic creatures, talkers, not fighters. But when the human ambassador simply smiled and pressed a small button on his wrist, everything changed. The floor beneath the chamber trembled. From the human ship docked just outside the council, a reinforced crate opened slowly, steam hissing from its seals. A large shadow stepped into the light. What emerged was not a tank, not a weapon, but a figure so strange that everyone froze. It walked on 2 legs, wore no armor, and carried no weapon. Its skin shimmered like liquid metal, its eyes glowed faintly blue, and every step it took made the floor vibrate. Zarok laughed at first, mocking the idea that this human weapon had come unarmed. But his laughter stopped the moment the creature looked at him. There was something in its eyes calm, cold, and old, like it had seen galaxies burn and did not care to explain. The ambassador turned to the council and said only one line: "We did not want to bring it here, but since you insist..." The creature entered the chamber, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy remembered fear. A few delegates backed away unconsciously. The being did not roar or speak. It simply stood there, as if waiting. A drone moved too close to scan it, and the result was immediate. The drone didn't explode, it collapsed in midair, its systems dead before hitting the floor. No signal was sent. No data recovered. It had been erased, not destroyed. Zarek stepped forward, puffing up his chest, trying to reassert dominance, but he could feel something clawing at the back of his mind. His thoughts grew heavy, his body slowed down, and his voice trembled as he spoke. "What is that thing?" The human ambassador replied calmly, "It's the last of its kind. A biological hybrid grown from Earth's most dangerous DNA. We call it the Beast. It is loyal. It is silent. But it listens to me." The delegates whispered among themselves. One ambassador from the German Alliance asked, "Why would you bring such a thing here?" The human replied, "Because peace is built on respect. And you've all forgotten to respect us." That sentence shifted the mood completely. The beast didn't move, but something about the room changed. Lights flickered. Temperature dropped. One of Zarek's guards lifted his weapon slightly, just a reflex. But it was enough. In a blink, the beast moved. There was no blur, no trail. One moment it was standing still, and the next it was in front of the guard. The weapon was crushed in the guard's hands, metal bent like paper. The beast didn't attack. It just looked at him, and the guard dropped to his knees, crying uncontrollably. The human snapped his fingers, and the beast returned to its place. Everyone realized the truth. It wasn't just powerful. It was controlled, trained. A creature that could end armies, but instead was taught to wait. The ambassador stepped forward and continued. "A time when Earth faced extinction. We never used it because we believed the galaxy had changed. We believed diplomacy was the way. But when people like Zarek begin to threaten the peace we bled for, we remind them the beast still remembers." Zarek, shaking now, tried to stand tall. "You're bluffing. It's all a show." The human nodded. "You want proof?" Then he looked to the beast. "Show them." The lights went out completely for 5 seconds. When they returned, every weapon in the chamber had been dismantled and laid out neatly on the floor in front of its owner. Not one sound had been heard. Not one alarm had gone off. It had happened in perfect silence. Panic spread, but the human raised his hand, calming the storm. "We brought it here not to fight, but to remind you. Earth is not what it once was. We do not scream when we are challenged. We release what we've tried to keep hidden." Zarek's second-in-command collapsed, clutching his chest not from an attack, but from sheer stress. The medical team rushed in, but none dared approach the beast. The human ambassador's voice grew quieter, but somehow more powerful. "The beast does not hate. It does not rage. It simply acts. And once unleashed, it does not return to the cage unless I say so. Do you understand?" The council was silent. Finally, a soft voice came from the Zenthari ambassador. "We understand, and we request immediate peace talks." The room agreed. Zarek was speechless. The moment he looked into the beast's eyes, he saw not violence, but judgment. Like the creature knew him, knew every war crime he ever committed. And worse, forgave none of it. The session ended early that day. Delegates filed out quietly, avoiding eye contact with the human. The beast returned to its pod without orders, stepping back into the darkness as though it had never existed. But everyone knew it did. That night, across thousands of planets, stories spread of what had happened. Some refused to believe it, calling it human illusion. Others knew better. Because even after the beast vanished, Diplomats reported strange feelings, less aggression, fewer arguments, and disturbing dreams of blue glowing eyes watching them silently in the dark. On Earth, in a hidden lab buried under the crust of the Atlantic, other pods began blinking slowly, one by one. And as the ambassador stood alone, looking at the stars through his ship's window, he whispered to himself, "They think we only had one." And far below, in silence, the beast listened. The galaxy was still recovering from the shock. After the incident at the Zentaur Council, where Earth revealed its greatest hidden weapon, the beast, there was silence across the stars. Old enemies backed down. Long-standing demands against humanity were quietly erased. The Brutari Empire stopped its expansion. The Galactic Alliances held secret meetings, trying to understand how they had misjudged the humans for so long. But on Earth, in a facility hidden deep under the Arctic ice, things were changing. The ambassador who had introduced the beast to the galaxy walked through rows of sleeping pods. Each pod held a creature, some large, some small, all created for one reason: to protect Earth if diplomacy failed. These were not weapons of war, they were insurance against extinction. Earth had suffered through near annihilation 100 years ago, during a civil war so destructive that it forced every government to unite under one banner. That was when the secret program began, Project Sentinel. The creatures, like the beast, were made not only with Earth's strongest biology, but combined with ancient alien DNA recovered from forgotten ruins on the Moon and Mars. They were not clones, not robots. They were something else. Something smarter, something more aware. Earth knew it was small compared to the galactic empires, but it also knew that real power didn't come from numbers, it came from what others never expected. For decades, Earth acted peaceful, patient, sending diplomats and joining councils. They gave technology, helped in rebuilding destroyed worlds, and taught medicine that cured entire species. But all along, in the coldest corners of the planet, that day had come, and now the galaxy knew the truth. On the surface, life appeared normal. Ships flew in and out of Earth's orbit. Tourists visited the rainforests, trade bloomed, but behind the scenes, everything had changed. Earth was no longer seen as a junior member of the galactic family. It was feared, respected, and watched. The ambassador received a message that night, coded in an old Terran language no one else used. It was a signal from the Sentinel Council, the group that oversaw the Hidden Guardians. The message was simple: Phase 2 approved. He stared at those words for several minutes, knowing exactly what it meant. The time had come to awaken more of the sleepers. But not for war. For leadership. Earth was no longer going to hide its strength, it was going to lead. Not through conquest, but through quiet control. The first step was the Summit of Solara, where representatives from every major civilization were invited. The ambassador stood once again at the center of the Grand Hall, this time without the beast. But everyone there remembered it well. He spoke with calm authority, offering Earth's assistance to build a new system of unity, one that respected every world's freedom, but also punished those who threatened peace. Many expected this to be a grab for power. But his tone was different. He didn't offer force, he offered safety. He didn't demand loyalty, he asked for honesty. And most important, he offered the knowledge that Earth had kept hidden for decades. With the press of a button, he shared advanced energy technology that could end the galaxy's reliance on dangerous fuel. He offered medical scans that could detect illness at birth and prevent it before it grew. He showed images of the creatures still asleep under the Earth, warning them not as a threat, but as a promise: we will never attack first. But if forced, we will end wars before they begin. The offer shook the foundations of power. Some governments resisted, seeing Earth's leadership as dangerous. But slowly, one by one, they gave in, not because of fear alone, but because Earth had something they had all forgotten: hope. The humans had survived their own destruction and used it to become better. That lesson was something the galaxy needed. So, the new Unity Charter was signed. Earth did not become an empire. It became the heart of a new era. The ambassador, now called the Coordinator of Peace, set up offices across 100 worlds. The beast was never seen again, but its memory kept even the most violent races in line. In the shadows, whispers of Earth's hidden strength kept criminal syndicates and rogue empires quiet. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy experienced calm. And while most celebrated this new peace, some feared what Earth had become. A quiet group of scientists from the Krill system started investigating Earth's past, searching for cracks, weaknesses, secrets that could be used in case the humans ever turned cruel. But what they found only deepened the mystery. Records of the beast's creation were impossible to read. Files were locked with ancient keys. Security AI erased their progress and sent messages directly to the coordinator. Instead of punishment, the Krill scientists received a message: if you're looking for truth, ask us. Don't dig where even we fear to look. The response was terrifying. If Earth feared its own history, then what else had they buried? Rumors began to spread that the beast was not Earth's strongest guardian, that there were older ones, darker ones, from experiments that went too far. But no evidence was ever found. And so, peace continued. Earth built schools, not weapons. They helped broken worlds rise again. Their ships traveled to the edge of known space, not for conquest, but for understanding. But the ambassador, now older, stood again at the window of his ship, watching stars drift past. He knew the galaxy's peace would not last forever. There would come a day when someone foolish enough would test humanity again. And when that day came, he would not unleash another beast. He would let the galaxy meet something even older, something that had not moved in 1,000 years. Deep below the Pacific Ocean, in a sealed dome, it waited. Still breathing. Still dreaming. The ambassador closed his eyes and whispered, "Let's hope they never meet it." And above, in the clear sky of a united galaxy, a new sun rose. A new era had truly begun.